Hey everybody, it's Justin, your guide into the other side. Let's jump right into the game guide that we got with regards to the open beta of Legends of the Mara. New page, new me. Let's figure out how to play this game, especially if you're just jumping in. So right off the bat, what is Legends of the Mara? Farm, fight, reap the rewards. It is a card game. It is an idle game. It is an open beta game that pits you and your other deed inhabitants against hostile beings spawned from shattered vessels. So in addition to hatching vessels and evolving your Mara, it is up to you to harvest and trade your other deeds sediment fragments that defend your land. So if you're farming, if you're fighting, it's okay. With regards to farming, it's going to be interesting that you can mint your other deed sediment fragments. I don't know if you saw my video yesterday, but there is a mint button that's going to be able to, basically make sediment fragments tradable on market. So that's going to be really important to keep an eye on. Additionally, the more battles you win, the more often that shattered cough up loot chests. So obviously, it's going to be imperative to win as many shattered battles as possible so you can get the loot, and you want to get them mainly because loot is limited and probably depletes very similarly to sediment. So we'll have to watch that. Voyagers averaging the fastest shattered kills each season will climb the leaderboard for their rewards and decrease the amount of time they have to wait for shattered to show up. So it's going to be important to kill them as fast as possible so you can stack as much loot boxes as possible to open them up and get higher, get awesome rewards. And the higher your environment tier, the better loot that you'll have. So, it's going to be important to, play at the highest environment tier that you can and beat the shattered as quickly as possible, to compete against others inside of that environment leaderboard ranking and get the highest ranking, because then you can get loot on top of that loot that you originally get. So there's two kinds. You can get the shattered loot drops, as well as the end of season rewards is what I think is going to happen. So how to play the game? You're going to need an expanded deed as well as an Oda, whether that's a vessel, a Kodamar, or a Coda, right? So if we keep moving on, each of these deeds will have slots and tiers where each other deed functions as a game card with slots that you fill. Before you can harvest sediment fragments or battle shattered, you're going to need to drag and drop your Oda into these slots to assign them to your other deeds. So whether you're farming or fighting, you're going to need to drag and drop them into the game. It's pretty simple. The gameplay guide is probably a better video to take a look at. But essentially, your environment tier also determines how many hunters or farmers can be assigned to your other deed, right? So sediment tier dictates how much sediment your other deed produces. And obviously, the higher the sediment tier, the better, right? So we can kind of get, I know I'm zooming in a lot, but basically the core constituency is the worker slots at the top. So obviously this is tier 4. So there's 4. If you have a tier 5, it's going to be 5, so on and so forth. If you're nesting your vessel here, you'll have 1 slot up here. It takes 7 days. You'll also see your sediment type and tier at the very bottom. Objectives. So basically there are 2 core game loops. There's fighting off, there's basically fending off threats. So using a combination of Odas, plus partner collections in future seasons. So obviously outside of season 1, we'll be able to use battle allies, which, there's a lot, from Forgotten Ruins to Renga, etc., to defeat Shattered, right? So each time you're victorious, you'll receive loot that can be used to craft items for what's ahead. That is super interesting. That's new verbiage. I like to hear that. And we can kind of get this breakdown of like each boss, barrier, ROM, caviar. We have this like super sick mosquito design. Like that's amazing. Kind of disgusting, but really cool. And other bosses we haven't seen yet, so that's super cool. And then harvest fragments. So if we're farming, your other produces sediment fragments that you or others will need. So farmer Odas can harvest them, and in the future, you can sell or trade them. So once they're mintable, I'm assuming they can go on free market. And you can feed them to a Mara during catalysis, an evolution into a Kodamara. So this is important because I guess we'll explain that later. But and Legends has it that fragments contain untapped power. Best to keep some handy. And they kind of have the 5 types here. It looks pretty good. I think they revamped the chemical goo and a couple of these. But anyways, I digress. I think one of the interesting portions that I did anticipate was the spacecraft, right? In addition to, so when you defeat Shattered, they drop loot. And basically, your environment tier and ranking affect the rarity and frequency of loot. So obviously, the higher the environment tier, the better the loot drops are. And when you rank higher on the leaderboard, the better your, end of season rewards will be. And partner collections will score you unique rewards. So use your newfound riches to build parts for a spacecraft. So there are a couple things that are outlined. There's the partner collections as well as the spacecraft. So I know in Serum City they actually talked about building vehicle NFTs. So since Faraway GG is has oversight over the game economies in Legends of the Mara as well as Serum City, seems like they're implementing some similar types of NFT crafting and vehicle craft. So that's super cool. Aliens not included probably. So with regards to spacecraft, if that alludes to a new collection where we can build unique spacecraft that all look different, I'm all for that. That's super dope. I will be looking at that. So here we can kind of see our catalog of, our Odas. We can kind of see them all here. We can see what they do. Coda is obviously the most powerful. They can do all three functions. They can fight shatter. They can, enchant buffs. They can also farm, but they can also deliver critical hits if you have weapons. So that's super cool. And then we also have hunters, obviously, use them to fight shatter. If you have enchanters, these are great because they boost skills of all Odas assigned to their other deeds. So farmers will farm faster, hunters will be ruthlessly efficient, but they do have to remain at camp. So farmers obviously are super important to get these sediment fragments. They tend to and harvest the other side. When you're ready to evolve any of your Mara into a Konomara, feeding it fragments will affect its rarity odds and overall look. So that's super cool. It means that fragments are going to affect your Konomara's look over time when you feed them, and that's optional. So I would probably opt for it, to be honest, because I think that looks cool. So Konomaras, we do have one. This is obviously one of probably a lot that we're going to see when people decide to evolve them. So how do you do that? You have to ingest a catalyst, maybe with, some optional sediment fragments. It evolves into a Kodomar that takes on the physical traits of its catalyst. Okay, that's a super key sentence because it kind of gives away where we can find what these catalysts look like, but we'll look at that later in a different video. But again, they can form. So I gotta catch my breath here. Anyways, so Kodas are important. Mainly, Kodomaras are important because they can do any of the three functions, whereas Maras can only do one function. But what's important is that though Kodomars are most effective at their original function, so obviously they have specialization. So if it's a farmer Mara and it turns into a farmer Kodomara, it's going to be best at farming, right? If it's an enchanter, it's going to be best at enchanting. But it will be able to do the other things like, maybe deal direct damage to Shattered or ramp buffs your team, etc., etc. So it's going to be able to do all three. So that's going to be super cool. Let's talk about Mist. Mist is Legends of Mara's in-game currency. It's designed to give you a competitive edge. So what can you do with it? You can refresh abilities, make Shattered appear sooner. So if you want to, start fighting bosses much faster once you defeat them, by all means use that. And speed up vessel hatching when you need backup. So outside of those three things, it's going to be interesting. Maybe we'll see it used for crafting. Maybe we'll see it used for enchanting. Maybe I don't know. There's a lot of things to speculate on, so I won't get into the deep end with that. But Mist is pretty cool. It looks pretty good. And coming soon, we can kind of see the three kinds of loot. We can see a sneak peek of all the Battle Alliance loot that we're getting. Obviously, we have Sentinel. We have the Applied Primate Sentinel, Beaker Flasks here, super cool. We also have Forgotten Runes, like we have a book, we have a card, we have, I don't know what this is, a helmet. And then we also have Renga Ink with the robots here. So that's super cool. And then there are the last 4 blocks outlining the creation season catalyst along with new catalysts as well. So they contain 4 seasons, each with its own catalysts. Use one to evolve your Mara into a Kodomar that takes on new abilities and physical traits. So be warned, catalysts are limited. Once they're gone for good. So creation season catalysts are probably going to be really coveted, since Gen 1 stuff always tends to be. So once they're gone, right? So I would probably try to pick some up and maybe hold on to them. But we'll see. So after the first season, we're going to get new seasons and new catalysts, right? Use a creation season catalyst for Kodomar evolution or wait to see what other catalysts appear in each new season, obviously with different types of aesthetics. You only feed your Mara one catalyst one time, so choose wisely. So there's going to be a wide variance of kinds of like base aesthetics and base Kodomar aesthetics, and the way that you can combine them with particular sediment fragments or etc. etc. So I mean, by all means, do hatch some, evolve some, but I do bag hold some as well, I would say. So again, the friends, if you have a battle ally, Legends of the Mara turns Otherside and its partner NFTs into your wallet into playable teammates capable of kickassery. These partners add to your hunters without taking up a roster slot. For more information, check out the fact. That's going to be super interesting. That'll give you a competitive edge, especially if you're trying to, win at the end game, and get that competitive edge, but, so on and so forth. So lastly, Otherside exploration. Voyagers gotta voyage. Soon you'll be able to journey into the outer reaches of Otherside. And to get there, you're going to need to rake in loot, some of which will help you build a spacecraft. So again, that's just related to the spacecraft. I'm curious how that will affect you, move forward as well. Maybe a new collection. We'll see. But overall, Catalyst, fighting Shatter, getting loot, getting friend loot, getting Shatter loot. There's so much to go on about with regards to Legends of the Mara, and we haven't necessarily even gone into the full array of like crafting or building structures or playing even 3D Otherside. This just kind of sets up, in my opinion, this kind of just sets up the spine, the core gameplay elements of the open beta. So, I mean, slow and steady, slow is smooth, and smooth is fast. And at some point, everything will be built out, and we'll probably be looking back at, season 1 Catalyst and be like, why don't I get any more? Why didn't I backhold some of these? So by all means, try to get as many rewards as possible. Try to play, try to deploy, obviously look around and, take a look at a couple other guides. I know there's a lot of resources you can take a look. But again, that's just my initial thoughts of the game guide. If you like this video, definitely hit that like and subscribe button. Always helps me create more content in the future. But you can always find me on the Otherside Wiki official Discord, as well as the official Discords as well. As always, the description, the important stuff will be in the description. So we'll see you guys around. I'm going to sign off, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.